So First Man was pretty great. This is the third film I've seen from Damien Chazelle, and he's definitely cemented himself as one of the best filmmakers working today. For those of you unaware, Chazelle is the mind behind La La Land and Whiplash. I was frankly curious to see how he would handle a non-musical feature. I'm safe in saying that this was great.
Fucking American! Made in USA, bitch!
Which the story is I'm flabbergasted.
They always have the temptation to revise history or to in fact bend history to reflect their current political views.
It's sort of like doing a movie about the Battle of Iwo Jima and not having the guys raise an American flag. Instead, they just decide to raise an empty flagpole with, like, an emoji sticker on it.
So, I should probably address the controversy surrounding this film. It's stupid and childish, plain and simple. Like, these people spend years of their life trying to bring a compelling story to the big screen, filled with pain, death, and triumph, and you're not even gonna give it a chance? Remind me again who the snowflakes are. It's abundantly clear that these people didn't want to see a movie, they just wanted to see a jingoistic power fantasy. Okay, to be fair, I understand some of the backlash to not putting it in the movie. Though I respect the director's choice, the flag planting is such an iconic piece of history. However, if that detail is the only reason you hate this movie, then that's kinda pathetic. Okay, rant over. Let's get back to the movie. First Man is one of those movies where its uniqueness comes more from the director and not the script. Obviously, with a Damien Chazelle movie, the sound design plays such a crucial role in the filmmaking. But with this movie, he cranks it up to 11. I think this is one of the best uses of sound design I've ever heard. The only way I can describe the sound design in this film is like painting. Much like how cinematographers use light to quote-unquote paint a scene, Chazelle uses sound to not only enhance a scene, but add all sorts of emotions and complexity to it. The cinematography and camera work were pretty impressive. With the camera movement and the filters, it's clear that the movie was going for a home footage kind of feel. It felt like a movie from the 1960s, which added to the authenticity of the production. The camera was mostly constrained to Neil Armstrong and his immediate point of view. Whenever he's flying in rockets, it's always shot from inside the cockpit, shaking violently with the crew. The sound design combined with the cinematography deliver a pretty engrossing experience. We experience every shake, creak, and alarm inside those cockpits. The film doesn't portray these flights as safe and the peak of scientific advancement. Instead, the film portrays them more like coffins, locking their victims into certain death. Though the writing was still good, I found it often rode the line between brilliant and Oscar bait. I honestly don't know many of the details, but I get the feeling that the writer did his research, not only into the events of the era, but the deep inner conflicts of all the people involved. It's easy to imagine Neil Armstrong as some brave, stoic explorer, but First Man shows us his hidden human side, his fears, his motivations, all on display to show us the man he really was. It shows us the toll all this had on his family and friends, and how an entire geopolitical battle was resting on his shoulders. That being said, I did find some of the dialogue scenes to be kinda boring, with dialogue that was kinda generic. In fact, the movie seemed to slow down a bit when these scenes were on the screen. Probably the single best scene in this movie was the scene with Neil Armstrong at the crater. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Because it was not only the culmination of everything he worked for, but it allowed him to put the past to rest and overcome his hardships once and for all. I know I might be triggering some people when I say this, but I'm kind of glad they focus more on the human emotional side rather than the geopolitical side. I mean, the Cold War and all that's still in there, but it's so interesting to see the deeper questions and themes developed within this movie. It was intriguing that they included the protesters and the naysayers of the Apollo program, showing how divisive the issue really was. Looking back, it's easy for us to scoff at the protesters and say, well, of course they're stupid. Didn't they see how successful the mission was going to be? But prior to the moon landing, the Apollo program experienced failure after failure, and for what? Like, just think if something like that was to be attempted today. The biggest and most prevalent theme within the film is death and confronting it to achieve our goals. It's an ever-present danger in First Man, from the space program to Neil Armstrong's personal loss. The space program had to ask itself, was losing all these men really worth it? Or are the goals of exploration worth the human risk? Conversely, it shows the toll death takes on us and how people can be motivated into action. After experiencing such a personal tragedy, Neil Armstrong uses that loss as motivation to achieve his goals and make something out of himself. However, it also shows him being consumed by the idea of dying, and how he can't even confront the possibility of it, even to his own family. Is the risk worth the reward even when failure might result in death? So please, see this movie and support it. It has Oscar material written all over it, and I honestly hope it wins something. It doesn't deserve to be a box office failure. Please buy a ticket. #FirstMan did nothing wrong. #FirstManGate.